Hi Ian, how you going? I've got so many questions to ask and I'm incredibly nosy. And the reason why I've got so much to ask is because you've got quite a bit of a backstory. Pretty much what inspired you to get into the NDIS sector and this space?
Yeah. Okay, good question. Look, a number of things. One, I got some exposure to it through a role. I was working for a plan management company, and it became very apparent that it was a really special place. It was full of selfless people, and I thought,
Yeah.
wow, there's something special going on here. And I'd previously worked in other roles and corporate roles, and certainly in my own businesses in New Zealand. And I thought, wow, this is neat. I need to double down on this. This is not common, and I still maintain to this day that it's really unique. So you couple that with a neurodiverse son who is a remarkable young fella, and yeah, I knew that it was probably the only sector I want to work in for the rest of my life. So there
Yeah.
you go.
So what made you think, you know what, after being a BDM, I wouldn't mind opening a business called Able Plus?
Yeah, I think to put some context around it, this wasn't my first business venture. I'm quite entrepreneurial by nature. In
Yeah.
the past, I've owned franchise businesses that I've built up and sold in New Zealand, and so this is not my first crack at this.
Yep.
So the step from being an employee to being a business owner to employing others is one that I've known before. In fact, I've done that with a multiple franchise outlets. I guess while it was unusual to do it at age 52 with a high rental living in Sydney and 4 kids
Yep.
between me and my partner, backed myself because of my past experience. Yeah. So I guess the combination.
So practically what you learned from your past experience had reshaped and how you did business today. If somebody has never heard of Able Plus, how would you explain it in a short sentence?
Yeah, okay. We primarily do B2B business networking all around Australia, and we connect quality providers with support coordinators, teachers, LACs, parents,
Yep.
and participants.
If we go back, what changes through this service have you seen by opening Able Plus?
I think one of the best things, and look, we don't always
Yeah.
see them, sometimes we hear them,
Yeah.
is it's in any given event, there are hundreds of conversations happening, right? When you multiply the number of attendees by the number of table hosts. Now, some of those put participants in a different position and change their life. So we have the byline, we believe one conversation can change someone's life. And every now and then, I'll be at lunch with a provider or an attendee,
Yeah.
and they'll tell me something that happened live in the event. And I'll say, wow, thank you for that feedback.
Yeah.
Because we don't often get to hear that. We know it's happening, and if you're doing it consistently enough, then do impact vibes. And we've got a national footprint, and that's something we're pretty proud of. But also, we're pretty humble that so many communities invite us in to help them connect,
Yep.
and hopefully we leave them in a slightly better place. So, yeah, it's a rewarding role.
So what makes Able Plus different from other providers? Because you're not a provider that provides support to NDIS participants. You're not a support coordinator. You're not a service and such. What makes you different?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really important differentiation. We're not an NDIS provider in the traditional form, and most of your guests will be, right? And that's great. But we're a connections business. And to a certain extent, with Switzerland, we really bring parties together, and we don't show any favoritism. We let choice and control run its place, and we run this beautiful of bringing people together and letting those outcomes, those conversations flow. So what makes us different? I think our team are pretty remarkable. We're a small team. We punch well above our weight. There's only 4 of us. And what we do, I think we're doing 85 events around Australia, plus about 7 workshops, plus 2 community events. So for a team of 4, that's going pretty well, you know. And we give a lot of ourselves.
How'd you pick your team of 4? Because it is a lot of work to book venues, to get providers on board, to come to the events. How did you pick your team of 4, besides the fact that you picked yourself as the co-owner?
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is that I founded the business with my amazing partner, Anna. So we are business partners. And she has a complementary skill set to me. If I try and lead the business, generate sales leads, be the key person of influence, which I'd love to talk about later, she's everything that is managing the business behind the scenes, keeping an eye on the finances, constantly talking to me about how things are going, because I'm out there charging, and every business needs someone running it from the front, right?
Yes.
So we are complementary to a certain extent. I'm the face of the business, and she runs the back of house. So that works well. Look, we've got Nairi. Everybody loves Nairi. She's probably the best appointment that I've ever made in any business ever. And then we have another admin person that's called Millie that role probably will change. So she's great, but at this stage, there's 4 of us. There will be more in the future. So
pretty much run like a restaurant. You've got yourself in the front serving the diners, and you got Anne in the back in the kitchen producing.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I like any reference to any model that people can relate to. But if you want to call us a restaurant, front of house, back of house service. Somebody on the till making sure that things get paid.
So with Able Plus, it has been able to help you network into your next business and your next venture, which is a networking CEO. How did you create this? Where did it come from? Where did it generate?
Well, I think Able Plus is a great base for a business, right? What's happening with businesses at the moment is that you want to have a scalable business, and you also want to have a personal brand running alongside that. So when I started doing workshops, I'm going to talk to people about building a personal brand, moving your business forward, and how important that is, particularly in the NDIS sector. So if I'm going to be talking about that, then I need to double down and do it myself. So I've elevated my personal brand. I've created the Networking CEO. I have to create content. I try and be mindful of that and create content. If you want to be in front of people talking about things, then you need to walk the talk. So the Networking CEO is the CEO of a business called Able Plus, and whatever else follows after that. The 2 of us run together. That's how it works.
Do you feel like it was missing? Because when I deep dived into it, I can see only a few people do it, but I haven't been able to see a lot of people do it. So do you feel like that's a gap that's missing from our sector, that people aren't branding themselves?
I do. I mean, if you have a look at my content, you can see how big I am on personal branding, in particular this notion of a key person of influence. So what you really want to do in the sector is try and become so familiar that becoming an obvious choice for a referral point, right? So in order to do that, you need to generate content. In order to generate content, you need to be confident, or you need to have something to say. Now, most people do have something to say, but they don't know what their niche that they need to talk in. For you, it's support workers, or you will have support workers and they think, oh, I don't have anything to say, but they do. And it might be that their niche is very, very specific, right? So I've gone out there. My niche is networking. That's obviously what we do. I think we're doing 85 events. So there's lots of interactions that we see, and that's something we get a great take on. So,
do you seem to get a lot more leads from business owners or CEOs? Is it specific, or is it a little bit of everything when it comes to the brand networking?
Look, I think in terms of the events on the table host side, it's still BDMs that are asking CEOs for approval to come to our events because I've heard good things about it. So that starts at one level and isn't a question up and then comes back down. On the attendee side, it's support coordinators that have also heard good things. Never undervalue the power of what's called water cooler talk or the cup of coffee talk, all right? The industry is big, but it's also very small. Where have you been? Who's doing good things? How can I connect? Blah, blah, blah. So that is the actual best way to get any referral or anyone to come along to your business still. What's required to get there is a hell of a lot of work and energy and brand awareness and personal brand awareness. So,
So when I was deep diving, because I totally did a business talk, and I would love to know a little bit more. I do that. To do these interviews, I need to know the person I'm interviewing. Sure. So I want to touch a little bit more on this 150 Club. Yeah. What is it? And what does it do? Because I don't know.
So the first thing about the 150 Club is it's not a club that I'm running, so dismiss that idea. What it does, Sarah, is it relates to something called Dunbar's numbers. So there's an English anthropologist called Robin Dunbar, right? And he does a whole lot of research, and he develops the set of numbers that he seems to be in relation to social connection. And it goes something like this. In any given setting, you have 5 key family members. Then you have 15 close friends. Then you have 50 friends that you could invite to a party that are perhaps not your closest, but that you know. The next number is 150. And the 150 is Dunbar's numbers. That's the maximum number of people that we can have a close association with and maintain a good contact level with. So that's the outer reach. Beyond that, it goes 500 and 1,500. In order to get a referral from someone, you need to be in their 150. So the whole post was about you need to be in somebody's 150 club. So make no mistake, every real estate agent wants to be in your 150. When you're thinking about networking, I want to be in your 150. If you're a support worker and you've got capacity, you want to be in somebody's 150. So that's the
it really is about extending yourself. So do you know, I saw a post, I think it was LinkedIn the other week, and I thought, that really did hit home, because I like the way that you're talking about changing the conversation about making a profit in the NDIS sector and why it's important. After putting posts like that out, do you receive much conversation coming back? Like, I agree, because I know for a few of us dinosaurs that being in the sector for a while, it was kind of like making a profit was like a dirty word, when really you do need to make a profit to be sustainable for the future.
Yeah. I think what you want to be is in the space. If you want to be considered a key person of influence, then you've got to be a thought leader.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you can do is tackle the tough topics. Now, profit does have a dirty word for any number of reasons.
Yes.
So all I did was break it down into two things. One, something called profiteering, which is everything that's negative about profit. It means that you probably have a participant, you're overcharging hours, you're being disingenuous, it's fraudulent activity. And on the flip side of that is something called good profit. Good profit means that you're making a small margin for providing a quality service, you're reinvesting in your staff, your participants are leading as good a life as possible. And that is completely acceptable. But we'd muddied the waters with this profiteering to the point where the good profit was all sort of caught up in the one. So I like to get a complex topic, try and give it a fresh take, and then see if people respond to it.
Yes.
That one flew. Yeah, it obviously hit a nerve. And there's lots of other topics in the sector, but I don't like dirty words. The NDIS is too good a space to have these dirty connotations sitting over it. I don't like ticket clippers. I think everyone adds value. I don't like the fraudulent references. I get to see hundreds of providers, and I reckon 99.5% of them are doing the right thing. I love addressing some of the hot topics, breaking them down and saying, nah, that's not my take on it. And we get to have a good look around Australia, trust me. So, I don't know.
Because you get to, you're like the master of networking, you're Mr. Networking himself. You get to actually, when you go to these events and you're networking with people, you could probably be able to tell anyone with probably maybe 5, maybe even 20 hands, fingers and toes, a good provider. And I dare say from you, it would just roll off the tongue. And then, like you said before, to find a dodgy, bad one would be less likely. You probably, I don't know, maybe couldn't name 10, I reckon.
I couldn't. Here's the reality. The good providers come to networking events. The dodgy ones don't turn up. They stay in the shadows. The good providers come out to play. The very, very large insular providers often don't come to networking events, but for different reasons. One, they're still working in a model that is very dated and don't think they need to, although they are starting to come to. But the really cool, smaller providers are networking and networking strongly. The ones that are doing deals in the back, in the dark room, they don't turn up. They never see the light of day. So most of the providers we come across are good. So maybe that skews my point of view.
I think it's a good thing to see, because everyone talks about it in such a negative way, especially in this market at the moment and the NDIS. So to be honest, I very rarely come across a bad provider. And I think that says a lot.
Yeah.
So while we're on this and networking and your personal branding and being a little bit magnetic, you've built a really strong brand. What does it mean for you in the future? Like, how do you sustain having your own personal brand moving into the future?
Yeah, look, I think if you've got something to say, you can keep generating content. As you get in more situations like this, where you get an opportunity to say something, you really just need to document it and put that up. What I'm trying to do is become familiar. I want to get into somebody's 150 club. And the more familiar you are, the more opportunities get presented to you. And the more, if you want to release something to the market, people will be open to buying from you.
Am I in?
Yes, you absolutely are. Now,
I have this image that you'd have a really big black book of connections, because you do you create these events. So therefore you would have a lot of people that you connect with and communicate with. Yes, go Sarah.
You're doing great.
So,
Yeah, I do have a massive network, and it's something I value.
So, the interesting conversation that I have a lot with solo independent support workers, even the very, very small ones, that when it comes to networking events, you don't always have to have the table. You're just beginning. It is good to turn up to these events and have these conversations, build your pitch or how to meet and greet people and get that confidence. You've had a small provider, like a independent, turn into a provider to come to your events as a person coming to attend, to a network, to having a table. Have you seen the turnover?
Yeah.
Because I have. Like, it's cool,
I've seen
isn't it?
I've seen the progression. I've seen so many progressions in the NDIS. I've seen the rather introverted provider turning up, not sure whether they're meant to be there.
Yep.
I've seen them go around 20 tables and listen how other providers sell their business or pitch their business.
Yep.
They don't realise they're doing this, but they are selling and pitching. This is another thing I need to overcome, this word sales or a pitch in the NDIS, right?
Yep.
And sometimes there'll be a provider that gets to go shoulder to shoulder for 20 tables with an independent support coordinator. Now, what they can do during that time is build rapport with them. At the end of it, they can exchange cards, and if they do a good job of following up, they may get a referral. So referrals come from everywhere. And let's not forget, there are less support coordinators out there. Things are changing all the time. Referral pathways are changing. So I see everything. I've seen people that have come to our workshops. They've booked a table. They've then booked 5 tables. They see the value in it. I've seen people start out as an attendee, go to a table host, go to an elite sponsor, and become a partner. So it is a progression. I'm always looking for them to do the right thing by their business. That's the thing,
Yep. So do you have any tips for any support workers out there that are wanting to go to one of your events? Any tips of how to come out of your shell? Like, have you got anything at all that, like, advice you'd give a support worker that's starting out attending your event?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. One, we really welcome support workers. They have the ear of participants, and I think they hold more value in the NDIS than perhaps they give themselves credit for, or the NDIS gives that role credit for. It's such a important role, and it really is the currency right across the whole industry. There's a shortage of them. There's certainly a shortage of good quality of them. I think in terms of them turning up, just do it. I think in terms of them putting themselves forward, stop worrying about what other people think. So much freedom on the other side of that. You know what I'm talking about?
100%. I turn up online a bit, so I understand that I can actually delete. It's okay. Yep. And then if I let that play ahead, I'd never get out of bed. So it's important that, as two people that turn up online consistently, that we have to have these boundaries in place, because I get to choose. And that's the part that I didn't realize at a period of time in my life, that I actually get to choose who I delete from. Yeah. That's good like that. It got me off topic, because I've never been asked that one, Ian. But when it comes to watching people grow authentically, you've seen people grow from small to really big. Have you seen any turbulence in between the small to big, like for people to scale up? Because you have been a BDM, so you know all about growth. You've got this. What do you believe that at this current moment is the turbulence for people from scaling their businesses in the NDIS sector?
I think there's 2 things. You need to have a business model that's scalable, and some are more scalable than others. If you run a community centre, or you have participants coming to you and you're in a bricks and mortar centre, there's a finite number of participants that you could have at any given time. If you specialise in allied health, you can run allied health clinicians right across Australia and grow that out to 250 people. So not all businesses are the same. I think if you come into the space, there's a couple of hurdles to overcome. One, you're probably very, very good at being empathetic, providing support, and a master of your trade, whether that be a clinician or whatever. It does not necessarily make you a good business person. So you need to go through an apprenticeship and learn what the skills are in terms of becoming a good business person. So we see this all the time. I was a nurse. I've done 20 years of nursing. It's a very bureaucratic market. I want to go and do my own NDIS business. That's great. I totally encourage that. We need great people in the sector. The problem is you got institutionalized somewhere along the line because you're working in a massive hospital and you don't know what it's like to be a social entrepreneur where you're out there creating a new business and trying to put on other nursing staff. They're two completely different roles, and you'll get exposed very quickly. You may churn and then end up going back into that sector. Look, I think there's a number of hurdles, and we need to have people training and investing in themselves to get those business skills. There's a lack of business skills in the NDIS.
Yes, I agree with you. And the funny and interesting part is, as I've been going through the journey of the support worker store, some of the training that I have received hasn't always been NDIS based because I needed skill sets that this sector could not give me.
Yeah.
So I had to go out and learn some skill sets that was completely different, but has a lot to do with my business and how to get people into it.
Going and looking at it. Look, if it's 80% applicable, you're still on the right track, right?
Yep.
The NDIS is unique, but in terms of a business, it still needs to run a P&L and make a small margin. And if you don't, you're not going to be around long. So you're not going to be able to support the
exactly.
Probably not. So and I think I just applaud you for actually investing in yourself and doing that.
100% have to consistently invest in yourself and consistently be willing to learn and be curious. When I've been doing a lot of things, so I do a bit online and I do attend a lot of events, networking in person. Yep. What's one thing when it comes to branding? Because I find that when I've gone to networking meetings, they've had every brochure. They've had the best signs, everything, like the tablecloth, everything is mint. It is perfect. But the person that turns up isn't able to get the message across. Have you got any recommendations for independent providers out there of who should turn up to your networking events if you're hosting a table? Yeah. What type of skill sets should a person have?
Yeah, for sure. Somebody that can make you feel something.
Yeah.
Because I can understand everything about your business off the banner, and I'm going to scan that, and it's going to take me about 2 seconds, and I know what your business is.
Yeah.
So we have business models in NDIS, right?
Yeah.
So you're a core support provider. Got it. Tell me something that I don't know. If you can't do that, then of the 20 people at one of our events, you won't be the top 3 that I remember. So tell me something that's going to make me feel something. Tell me about a participant journey. Tell me about a member of your family. Storytell. If you storytell in conjunction with great quality services, then you'll own my heart and you'll own my trust. Storytelling in the sector.
You know, the interesting part is when it comes to referrals, it might not, like, I will remember somebody, but it won't be this week or next week that I refer somebody on. It could actually be a couple of months or like 6 months to a year later because I remember the story.
I love that. It's a long game, right? We're all in the long game. If you're not in the long game, you can go and do something else. You can sell whiteware and get immediate gratification. There's plenty of jobs like that. We're in the long game trying to attract referrals through trust, consistently, and being our authentic selves, storytelling, and running a business of integrity. These are the pillars, right?
Yeah. So, you know, it was really interesting when I went. So I've actually gone to one of your workshops, and it was absolutely fantastic. And one thing that resonated for me at the workshop you said was, I remember going to one of your expos, and then the person that was setting up and then engaging with everybody, and then the last person to pack up was the person that I remembered, and I found him to be very magnetic. How often does that happen when you go to these things? Do you pick one magnetic person an expo, or is it a few people? How do people get in front of you, Ian, to be a part of your 150?
Look, I'm pretty open. People can reach out at any time. When you do events, and I don't know, we've done 120, 130. You do notice people, and you notice people's intent. In the NDI space, I reckon if I'm going to have a cup of coffee with someone, I can figure out their intentions by the time the coffee's at the table. Yep. We sort of understand, do you belong in the sector? Are you here to be of service?
Yep.
Are you projecting all of the body language and the traits that I'm looking for? Because I'm here to be of service. My goal is to connect as many communities as I can around Australia and change lives. So I think those types of things still resonate with me and others. So the little anecdote that we used in the workshop with someone in Adelaide, and they did all of those things. They turned up first. They had a really happy disposition. They helped other providers set up their table. They weren't, and so that wasn't just about them. And they found a way to collaborate with every single person. And I started listening to them, and they were the last to leave, and they carried out heavy items, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm massively endeared to this person, and they're a core supports provider, and I've got a neurodiverse son. One of my markers is would I trust my son with this person, and I did. So there you go. And that was over a 2 hour. Fast rapport to trust. That's the game. He nailed it. I was very, very interested to watch.
Isn't that interesting? Because the way that you say that, would I send my son to this person? In provider land, when I've had my hat on, if I wouldn't work with this person, then I cannot put this person forward. And that's always like, isn't that funny? Like with the same thing, different context. But that if it has to be. It has to be, because if I couldn't do it, then how could I expect another person to do it? And how can I retain a staff member to do it? Can you tell me a bit more about some of your wins? Because I know that you, like, in your workshop, you talked about how you've caught up with people in the past. There's providers that you've befriended and you go that extra mile for.
Yep.
How do you get to that point where you can mentor somebody, another business, because you do have such a variety of backgrounds? Like, how does it just come across? Is it just a coffee? Is it how did that part come ahead?
The mentoring comes when people need help. It normally comes in a time of hardship, and most of the time they'll reach out when they're either facing a big decision or things aren't going well. So the mentoring role is often just about listening, drinking coffee, and it's not so much about advising, unless you're in a big scale. How do you get there? You put in the work. You create a personal brand. You become a key person of influence in the sector. You generate ideas, and it happens over time. It's a long game. So you got to remember, I've been doing this for a while. And the sector still needs a lot more influencers. You've got a rock star lineup this week of key people of influence. To accolade you, it's very, very good. People are wanting to come on your channel. And why do they want to come on a long format podcast channel? Because they really get to understand the person they're talking to, right? This is not a
It's because I want to ask questions. It's like of people's businesses, because I'm like, that's really cool. What's a way that I could show everybody on Instagram or anybody that goes to Spotify from here, YouTube, how can I showcase what other people are doing? Because I know that this sector has some really great people in it. How can I show them and prove that, we're not all fraudulent. We are doing the right thing. How do I do that? I think that was like, it niggles at me, because I do feel like there's some really cool people. And then if you're not inspired by some of the people in this sector, maybe this ain't the sector. Yeah, no, I do.
I agree. I mean, you can only do as much as you can. Right? When we've got leaders out there steering the media towards fraudulent activity on a consistent basis, which is making the Australian taxpayer think, my God, my funds are being wasted, generating a lot of negative energy around a brand that's by and large helping people with disability, and 99.5% of people are doing the right thing. You and I can only do so much in terms of trying to promote the good side of it. The media generally is looking for the worst story on any given night. So we'll do what we can, Sarah.
One of the things that really hit home for me is a part of your workshop, you're talking about how you're donating your time, how you did some charity stuff, how you did some charity stuff, how it looks and how people, feel after that. And I love that bit, because there's so many of us in this sector that do charitable things. We just don't say it. Like, we don't talk about it. And there was another man that was at your workshop. I've forgotten his name. The physiotherapist.
Eric.
Yes, he has, and such a humble man too. And he was talking about, I do this, this, and this. And I was like, we don't promote. We actually do a lot of great things, but we don't say it. We don't promote it. Why don't we? Is it because we come from that old school thinking that, that's just something we do because it feels good and I've got to keep it to the side, when really that it is something that we should promote, and we should tell people that, we actually do we do donate our time and our effort and our money towards things that aren't always for profit. That was cool.
That's right. Well, there was a great example of that on the Gold Coast workshop as well. Point 3 in terms of generating content was a give back piece, right? And who here gives back to the community? And many, many hands go up. And I say, what do you do? And we go around the room, and a lot of people are doing something. And I say, have you ever thought about posts on it? Oh, no, I couldn't. Why not? Well, it's not with cultural values, and I don't think that I should be promoting myself in that setting. And, at school, I was never encouraged to rise above the pack. And all of these old sets of rules were coming to play in people's heads. And I was like, oh, wow. Presented it in a way that helped promote the community, the charity. I give back time at the homeless shelter. I help cook spaghetti bolognese on Thursdays. I enjoy the banter with the other cooks, and we feed 100 people. I work for this charity. If anyone else wants to come and join me, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, where in that sequence of wording or events or context is the negative? Because there's none.
Yeah.
Because this is something that you've done from your heart. So then what happens, and I see it happen, because post-event, someone will create a content piece and they will tell us what they're doing. And of course, I'll go in there and like it. But that is personal growth, and that growth happens within a couple of hours. Now, that story can also be incredibly personal. This happened to me in my youth. This is why I do this. That's a shift. That's a shift in outlook. It's very, very hard to create, but you can do it in a short period of time if you're challenging, and you need to get buy-in from the other people in the room. So, yeah, I kind of love that. It's one of my favorite things.
Well, I think what caught me was the big, beautiful photo, to be honest, a big smile, like, you know what, there's two people enjoying their time in this situation.
Yeah.
It's really not that bad. Like, it is a positive what is happening here, but we don't sell that part about us because we're told, like, even like that tall poppy syndrome that Australians, we have that. Like, you know, I find it really interesting when I'm talking to support workers and I'm asked, you know, what you're good at, what you need. I'm not quite sure. I do this, this, and this. And you're like, well, actually, no, that is your point. That is the point that people want to hear. They want to hear this side of the story about you, because this is a selling, like, not just a selling point, but it's a story point that people would engage with you and want you to be a part of the ride. It's crazy.
I think people are still playing by an old set of rules. They need to update to a new set of rules, which enables them to promote, not themselves, but promote ideas, charities, collaboration. And that is what the sector needs.
Yep.
And if you can move them closer to that, then they move further in their personal growth.
So in the next, say, 12 to 24 months, do you see a lot more people in our sector doing more personal branding to be able to grow their business?
Absolutely. Yeah. Why not?
With that, does that mean that you've aligned some more workshops for personal branding in this sector for people?
Yeah, because the people that are coming to the workshops are realizing the importance of personal branding, and they're becoming... They're elevating themselves to become key people of influence within their sector. Now, whether that's cell housing, whether that's plan management, whether that's whatever it is, disability employment, we want leaders in these sectors on thought generation, on thought ideas. So it's happening, and they'll naturally become referral landing grounds.
Yep.
And good on them.
I took a lot from that workshop because I was not one to pitch. I was somebody to listen and figure out whether I can fill gaps or whether I can work with you, because what you said, does that resonate? Can I work there? Can I move that? If I don't know, I'll refer. But the learning how to pitch is actually something that we're not, like, I don't know, like, I'm not taught. I'm not taught as a support worker. This is something that I have to self-invest and learn to do. So it's not something that comes naturally. It is practice. It is about being cringy. I've stuffed some of them up, and then I will be the first to admit it. I have slid into inboxes that I probably shouldn't have. So it's like, there's a lot of life lessons here.
A strong elevator pitch is your best friend. It still opens doors, but it's got to be organic, and you've got to be able to feel comfortable saying it. It's never too structured. It must be fluid in the NDIS. And, you know, public speaking is still the number one fear of all fears. So that needs to be overcome as well.
You know, the most interesting part when we did this part, guys, where we had to be a part of groups, and I was grouped with another man, and we were talking about it. And then as we're going, I feel really robotic. And we were talking about how the storyline and how we do have our own personal stories of to why we got there and how to put them into the pitch. That, I think, was very much a game changer for me and the other lad that I was with, 100%. And that's something that we'd only learn if we attended your workshop. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm completely off track. NDIS landscape, how do you see that evolving in the near future, say the next 12 months to the next 5 years?
I think there's a lot of interest on this Navigator rollout. Nobody quite knows what it looks like. I mean, there's 5 or 6 navigators. There's a general one, sure. But as a community, what we need to be mindful of is the government normally rolls out a pilot scheme, right?
Yep.
And to be honest, they normally don't get it right. The first iteration's never quite right.
Yep.
So as a community, we need to comment on that, watch it. And they'll choose a smaller community. I think they did the NDIS rollout in Tassie or something like that. So we'll all get a chance to look at it. And whatever that is, we need to do as much as we possibly can to reshape that into a way that works for participants. There'll be open feedback channels. So that's something I'm actively keeping an eye on. You know, there's a lot happening in that space. People are thinking it's going to go hand in hand with plan management, and they're buying plan management businesses. Doing various things ahead of any sort of government or Canberra type changes. It's all pure speculation, but keep an eye on the pilot. That's what I'll be doing.
Exactly what we did in Geelong. So when the NDIS came along, everybody was watching Geelong in Victoria to see how the pilot, and I can tell you right now, from the beginning to now, the NDIS is completely different. I remember.
There you go. We're talking about iterations, right? And feedback loops. Since government, nothing happens quickly, and they get a lot of advisors. There's a lot of money that the government pays on advice. Now, not all of it's good. To be a consultant to the government is a very good role, but they won't get it right. It will always need further iterations, and it will always need our input. If they got it mainly right, that would be a great start.
When I talk about this, I always remind people I came from block funding and I went to the NDIS, and I know there's a complete difference in people's quality of life. I can see that from kids to adults, the difference that the NDIS has created for people is it's a system that nowhere in the world is doing. Is it the best system? Probably not. Is it still worked on? Absolutely. Is it better than what we had? 110%. So I'm very wary about passing comment on the NDIS because I know a lot of people are upset with it for all sorts of reasons. But if I reflect back, we've come such a long way. It would be a disjustice if we stopped, or in a disjustice if we went back to what it was. That's how I look at it.
Well said.
So in this NDIS landscape, what do you want people to remember most about you? Oh, I'm going really deep now. Sorry, Ian.
Community-based guy that gave back through charitable events and had an honest intention to connect people across Australia and change lives. That would be enough.
That would be beautiful. That's beautiful. You know how with all the events that you're running from this year, have you already started planning next year's events? Like, is that how far ahead you've got to be to book venues?
Not quite, but once we go over the halfway mark, we'll sort of have a draft as to what the following year looks like. Yeah. And
at each venue and what the following year looks like, it seemed to get specific areas that do draw in the big cards. I know for Victoria-based, like Ballarat, Bendigo, Werribee, Caroline Springs, you seem to pick big area suburbs. Is it you pick them because of the amount of people that live there, or do you pick them because providers are saying, hey, I'd really love a Able Plus meeting expo here?
Yeah, good question. Look, we've got really good data now in terms of how many people turn up in each given region or community. Yeah. And some of them are stronger than others. So we'll double down on those. We'll do 2 events per year there if we think the community wants that. Some smaller regional areas are only a one-time event. Yeah. But yeah, we actually are bold in terms of reaching out and trying new communities. But you've got to remember, I take the responsibility of someone being a table host very seriously. If I don't get enough attendees to turn up to that event, then I feel that. And it's very, very hard on the microphone if you haven't delivered. Now, that doesn't really happen with us. But we do need to take little risks in terms of entering new communities where we think we're going to be well received. So luckily, we've done a really good job of that. But that's something that I give a lot of thought to. What you won't be able to see is a massive wall calendar that sits up above my desk, and I'm looking at it constantly. So
in the kitchen making it happen. He said to turn up here. Just go get the data. Let's see if we can make it work.
This is a team sport. I can't do anything without this. My fumbling of technology to start off with is very much the fact that I don't have my team around me. Okay, we're all blessed with certainty.
You can't laugh about this. You've got to be able to laugh about it, and I'm okay with that. So
love it.
With the growth with Able Plus, and you've got the networking CEO. Have you got anything else in the pipeline? Because you are an entrepreneur at heart.
We've got something massive that I'm not prepared to disclose at this stage.
That's okay. Yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a fan girl. I'm going to watch that.
Yeah. It's gonna be big. You'll know about it when we roll it out.
Are you excited?
Yeah, I am, because what you do in business is you generate brand equity, right? And
Yeah.
you do the same thing in your personal brand, and you can seed that, and then there's also a time to harvest that.
Yeah.
And if you make yourself familiar enough in the industry, if you bring a new product to market,
Yeah.
people will trust that. It doesn't even need to be as good as somebody else's product, but people will download your product or become part of your product because they know you. So I think, yeah, that's something that I'm super excited about. Watch this space.
I can't wait to see it. You know, the interesting part is, before I had you on tonight, I've actually had a few people slide into my DMs and ask, how did you get Ian? Really quite easily. If anyone wants to know how I connected with Ian, I did the millennial thing and I slid into his inbox and introduced myself. And a lot of people can do that, and not to be cringy, it can happen. Have you got any advice for any entrepreneurs watching this? Because I know a lot of people do look up to you, Ian, how you network and they watch your moves. Have you got any advice for entrepreneurs out there in this sector wanting to build businesses?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things. One, the traditional schooling model does not create natural entrepreneurs, right? Everything that you're going to need to go through an entrepreneurial journey is going to be different to what you were taught. So you're not really taught to go out there, do everything different to everyone else. You're still taught to go out there, get a job, pay your mortgage, and become part of the giant wheel that is the economy. You're going to come into really confronting situations very quickly, and you're not going to know how to handle them. So you really need to go through an apprenticeship with somebody else, somebody that's in a fast growth startup, or somebody that you can lean on, or somebody that you can say, hey, this is happening in my business. What would you do? Because things happen really fast, and if you don't manage your cash flow, you can be out of the game. Yeah, there's lots of factors to it. I'm hugely pro entrepreneurship, and I want everyone to give it a go. Probably stay in your lane, do what you do best, and take advice and pivot if you think you're doing anything wrong.
Yep. And pivot quick.
You got it, Sarah. Yeah.
I love
Be agile.
be honest,
When you're making a mistake, you're burning cash, pivot the other way, go back to where the money was.
or just work it and try to think out of curiosity. I think a lot of things that I do is out of curiosity because I want to pull that string and figure it out. But with entrepreneurship, no regrets. Absolutely zero.
Well,
best thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should have, when I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, Ian, a lot of them say, I should have done it earlier.
Yeah.
Why did I wait? And I think maybe it's because with life, you have to be whacked and hit a couple of times before you to take that step, to become an entrepreneur, to open businesses, to do all those things. So 100%. So are there any quotes or mantras that, keep you going on some really tough days? Because business is hard.
This is really hard. Look, I think you have to remain positive in the face of adversity. There is a quote, and it's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get back up.
Yeah.
So all the businesses that I've created, and I had several businesses in the Christchurch earthquake. They literally got knocked down, and I was able to rebuild them. So I'm a Kiwi. My journey started there. I've ended up here. I've ended up in a really empathetic and loving space, which is the NDIS.
Yeah.
But if I got knocked down and didn't want to get back up again, none of this happens.
Yep.
So I love resilience. I love resilience in the face of adversity. It seems harder and harder to find. We're not really teaching that. But
that's not taught at school. You're right. It isn't, because it's not like what you said before about schooling, that we don't teach entrepreneurship in schooling. I agree. All my learning has come out of school, and I've had to learn in different spots to be able to create a business, because school doesn't teach you that crap.
The system designer put employees in there to work for other people.
I always used to think, the system when it came to schooling wasn't pro-dyslexic, because I'm incredibly dyslexic. So I feel like that's just part of the fact that I can't. Like, I see more blocks in school systems than I see opportunities, where I like to dive in and learn the opportunities and see where it takes me. And school systems can't teach me that. But anywho, if anybody wanted to get in touch with you, Ian, what is the best way to connect with you?
Probably send me an email. Look, I can get busy. I'm still running events on a daily basis. Last week we did 4 in Queensland, so I don't have time to check my phone. What I do every night is go through my emails. So reach out. and more than happy to help where I can. We can jump on a call like this, have a cup of coffee, and work through some business ideas. I'm very, very supportive, and I try and be as generous as I can with my time and help people. We are a community. We're all in it together. Right? The sector needs really good people to stay in the sector.
When you're doing your business calls and your coffee, do you filter beforehand? Because I find a lot of people like to have coffee with me, but I find when it comes to coffee with me, it's something they want from me, not something to give. I'm not a very giving person, but it's like I need something back from that coffee because it shouldn't just be a one-way coffee.
Yeah, sure.
Do you have to filter that way, or are you just a very giving person?
It's called emotional intelligence. You try and read a situation. You figure out what somebody wants. A great meetup is just something in it for both parties. But yeah, no, we use filters. Of course we do. Time's valuable.
Yeah, it is at 100%, and I don't want it wasted either. And I want to connect with people that want to grow and build, and they give you that, that oomph back. And I think being in online and person present, doing the two of them at the same time, has been able to help me expand my 150 people that I could communicate. Yeah, my 150 club, and I'm still working on it because I believe that variety is the key to life, and I'd like to have a variety of different people.
So good. Good. Your point about energy is so valid. If somebody reaches out with a really infectious energy, I can't not have a catch up with them, right? So yeah, energy.
When we reached out to each other, the best thing was I was like, all right, this is my tester, because I'm a phone call person, because I can pick energy on phone calls. And as soon as you said yes to phone calls, like, excellent, we've got some, I can filter this. Emails I find very hard to filter through. It's my method, but it works for me. Anywho, sorry, I'm so off track. To contact you, it's by emails. It is by sliding. You can slide into a DM, but you'll get a better result through an email. Turn up to the events. You do turn up to the events, guys. You can say hello to Ian. He doesn't bite.
Yeah, look,
and if you carry a box, he will remember you. It's a bit more complicated than that, Ian. I promise you. But yeah, anything else you'd like to add?
We've covered a lot of different topics.
I'm amazing. You're made for this. Communication is your skill, but 110%. You're a communicator.
That was the only thing I ever got an A in uni. I was a solid C, but I got an A in communication.
Yep, I can tell. I think, you got really good. Remember meeting you in person, really good empathy and good listening. It's just got hello, Ian and Sarah, and that's Dazzling Disability Care. I haven't met you, but I will.
Nice.
All right. That's about it, Ian. Thank you so much for joining me on this live. Sorry about the technical issues that we had in between.
You're welcome.
But we got there in the end. And through this live, guys, I have not been able to see any of Ian's facial expressions. I've only been able to see myself on the screen. So it feels like I'm talking to Oz.
You've done very well, Sarah.
Thank you. All right. Have a lovely night, Ian. See ya. Thank you so much.